Welcome to episode 6. Let's pick up some sticks. Welcome to Burn It Down. Welcome to TCB Studios on the road. I recently revisited the film Amelie. I don't know if you guys have seen this movie, but if you haven't, I suggest you do. It's beautiful to look at. The music is gorgeous, and the message is the most beautiful thing in the world. It's about someone who just wants to be a do-gooder in life. And it got me thinking about things that I'm doing in my life as a human and as an artist, and what can I do more? There's got to be more that I can do for my fellow humans, for my brothers and sisters out there. It got me thinking about this next guest. We have an interesting history. I'm going to bring him on in a second. But he's just doing so much good for the music community, for the artist community, and just for folks throughout the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me with a round of applause for Mr. Rob Rover Rushing.
Hey, everybody.
How are you doing, brother? You look amazing. You look beautiful.
Thank you, Tom. Not half as cute as you. You are the most beautiful man in the world.
Oh, my goodness. So I have a list of things kind of in order that I want to talk about, but also the whole idea is for it just to be two friends who believe in each other and have supported each other to kind of just shoot the jazz and talk. First things first, we wanted to have you on a few weeks ago on your birthday, so we can wish you at TCB Studios happy birthday. Unfortunately, you were broken down in your camper. I believe you were in, was it Delaware?
Dover, Delaware.
Yes. And it took a few days for you to get your camper going before you can get back on the road. Is that correct?
That is correct. I luckily found a great mechanic that dug into it and found the problem. So.
Yes, and I saw that you got on the road and you made it maybe up the road a little bit, and then it broke down again. You had to come back. So big ups and cheers and love and respect to those guys, because it sounds like they saved the day for you.
They did. They made it a little easier. It was not fun sitting on your birthday in the middle of Dover, Delaware, and the only thing I could find was an Outback.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and the funny thing is I'm texting you and I'm like, man, I really want to do this. Let's try to help you raise money. And you're like, Tom, I don't know where I am, and I don't know where I am tomorrow. Let's get through this first. So first things first, at Burn It Down, we want to say happy belated birthday. You look amazing. Secondly, that camper that we're talking about, you were in it. It is your office. Right. And that's what I want to get into next, because, I love talking with friends of mine, and most of them are going to be musicians. And I love when they want to do more and get involved with doing charity work. And when the two mix, I mean, it's the best combination ever. So you and I met in the middle of the ocean. I think it was March 2015 in the Bahamas. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's either 2015 or 2016. I never.
Yeah. Well, the reason I think that is because I'm going to go on to, because I did 2 years in a row of that cruise. It was the Salty Dog cruise, and I believe it was Gogo Bordello on it as well, with the Flogging Molly guys, El Mariachi Bronx. And next thing you know, and those guys have been so good to me, and they've taken me all over the world, and just have said, hey, listen, here's our friend Tom. We love his music. You should listen to it, which is the kindest thing ever. And then next thing you know, I'm having a beer with you. We're in the middle of the ocean, and I realize, besides being just this awesome person and cool guy, that you have a mission and you're doing something even bigger than that, which has got what got me started about this because of that movie Amelie. I really just love that movie, that she just wants to try to make people happy, and I just started thinking about that. So at the time, you were working with an organization called Love, Hope, Strength,
Yes.
which was with Mike Peters from The Alarm. Fantastic band, and
Yep.
we're chatting, and then next thing you know, and we always hear people say the term, "Oh, it's a small world," right? And on one hand, yes, it is. On the other hand, I say no, it isn't, because if you go to England or if you go to Prague, you're going to ask somebody at the hotel or someone, go, hey, where's the punk rock bar? Where's the rock and roll bar? And then when you go there and you say, I'm from Denver or I'm from New York City, someone's going to say, oh, I know so-and-so. I know Rob or I know Tom. And then the next thing you know, it's great minds think alike. I think you and I have had this conversation probably 20 times in 20 different cities where we say it's important to like the right things and like the same things, be passionate about the right things, but also hate the same things. Homophobia, hate, jealousy, fear, racism. Those things we want nothing to do with our life. And yep, we'll see you. You're out the door. So we have this wonderful conversation, and we're talking about things, and we realize we know the same people. And you're telling me that, like, again, I said The Alarm was such a great band when I was a boy growing up in New York, and I was like, oh my goodness, how's Mike doing? And I find out that Smiley is playing drums with Mike Peters in The Alarm, and I met Smiley when I met Joe Strummer in 1999, and next thing you know, we're just hugging and drinking Guinness and laughing, but also talking about great things. And please tell me about how that started, because Mike was ill, and that's what got him starting on that charity, correct?
Yeah, Mike found out he had a cancer, and he was getting very, very good care through the NHS over there in Wales. And he realized a lot of people don't get that same kind of care. So he and Slim Jim Phantom and Glenn Tilbrook and some football players, and a few others.
Some footy players.
Yep.
Yes.
They got this grand idea to climb Mount Everest to raise money for cancer patients.
Amazing.
Play the world's highest concert, and they did it. They didn't climb, obviously not to the top. It's to base camp, but they set the Guinness Book of World Records for that little bit of time for the world's highest concert, and they raised a lot of money. And then out of it, they launched the Love, Hope, Strength Foundation.
Right.
I found it a little over 2 years after it existed, because I had a friend pass away in 2009.
Sorry for your loss.
And I felt like I wasn't doing good or bad in the world. I just felt like I was living. And there's nothing wrong with just living, but I felt like I needed to be doing something. I joked that I had a third eye open. I don't know if you believe in all that, but something was telling me I needed to be doing something. And I found out about Love, Hope, Strength, and I reached out to him from Nashville and said, what do I need to do to bring this to Nashville? They told me they didn't have a lot of money to spread to other cities. And I said, wait, I didn't ask you for money. I asked you what I needed to do.
Amazing.
And so I started, doing shows for them all over Nashville using my music connections there. And after 2 years of volunteering, they asked me to move to Denver. That was 2011. I packed up my whole life, moved to Denver to do it for a living. And we did amazing things through 2019. And in 2019, they decided to do away with their outreach program. And at that time, my wife was working for me. And if you notice a running theme through this whole thing, Tom and I will talk about this cruise a lot.
Yes, that's where I'm about to get to in a minute. Yes.
I met my wife on this same cruise, and we got married on the cruise the year after we met. So
yeah. The awesome Peter, who I'm a huge fan of, and who is so important in this foundation.
Yep. And so my wife and I were both working for Love, Hope, Strength when they decided to just do away with their outreach. They're still a foundation. They're still doing good things in the world, but they weren't going to have any employees. So Tina and I was a little mad for a couple of days just because it was my rock. It was what I wanted to be doing in the world.
It was your baby, yes.
Yep. And so I was on tour with Flogging Molly when it happened, and I was in this RV when I got the call that we weren't gonna have jobs. And so I talked to Nathan from Flogging Molly. I talked to Scott, a big supporter and on our board of directors, and his wife Dina, and I talked to Justin from Anti-Flag, obviously my wife, and I told him my idea that I didn't want to quit doing good. And everybody to a person said, yes, let's keep going.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I hit them with my idea for Punk Rock Saves Lives. And
Right. Yeah, it's so funny, and yes, this cruise and the same amount of people will probably come up a few times. These names in this conversation. By the way, thank you so much for giving us time, because I adore you, and you're so important, and what you're doing is so important. But yes, so then you fast forward a year later, and I re-meet you, maybe even on the same boat in the middle of the Bahamas, and I believe that was with Rancid, and I'm playing some shows, and we're catching up again, and we continue to talk about your mission. And then I felt like I was lucky enough that I think you even joked about it. You're like, Tom, sometimes I have no idea where you are, and I just bump into you in certain cities. I spent a lot of time in Atlanta. I actually volunteered with you and worked with you at a show where we were where we was, I believe it was at the Roxy, and it was your friend who was in the pit with the big float. It was amazing.
Yep.
And you told me all the important stuff that he had done, because he was a cancer survivor.
Yeah, that's Andrew McMahon. So
yes, what a beautiful man, and what a beautiful band, and what beautiful people. And everyone's story was so amazing. And you find out, just because someone, they don't think anything of it at a show, and they, come over here and do this real quick. Do a swab, and you may save someone's life in the future. New York, Atlanta, certainly the West Coast, and then
Bend, Oregon.
That's what I was about to get. Then I'm building a TV studio in Bend, Oregon, and I see you there, and you're wonderful as always. But I could tell something is a little wrong. And after a few minutes of chatting, you're like, "Hey, we just found out we lost. This foundation, we're no longer be able to do this." But after a few days, I thought about this, and me and my wife Tina, who you met on the cruise, who you married, who was amazing, who's a partner with you. You're like, we're going to do this thing, and we're going to keep it going, and we're calling it Punk Rock Saves Lives. And it seems like we believe things happen for reasons, correct? So you actually took what you were doing originally, and you made it even bigger, because it's about wellness, especially what we've gone through the past couple of years during the pandemic. It's about mental wellness. It's about mental health, physical health, believing in yourself, taking care of yourself, reaching out and talking to people, and getting help, whatever form of therapy you believe in. And you guys helped me. I mean, I got set in on a couple of these conversations, and they were so wonderful and so helpful. So thank you for that.
That was the big push when we refounded as Punk Rock Saves Lives, is not to just be a cancer foundation. Cancer and helping people with the bone marrow registry will always be gigantic to me. But we founded Punk Rock Saves Lives in November of 2019, and 3 months later, the world shut down.
Yep.
So we were lucky to grow and pivot during the pandemic, because we moved more into an online mental health kind of push. We did something very similar to this every week called a PMA session. As a matter of fact, you played one of them.
Yes, yeah. Thank you for having me. And you were still kind enough. And Nate, Nathan and Shelby popped in, and we even talked about what I'm doing with I Choose Awesome, which you've had a huge inspiration on. I hope we've inspired each other with that, because we want to spread love and positivity to everyone. But those mental health sessions were really important. You mentioned the guys from Anti-Flag. It's so funny, because I ran a warehouse in the early 90s when I moved to Atlanta, and we would have punk shows, and those guys played there then, and they were so nice. But I mean, it's been years since I've seen them, but I can't wait to bump into them again through you and say, hey, I met you in 97 or so, and thank you for this.
What was the name of that warehouse, sir?
That was so it didn't even have a name. It was behind a blues bar called the Northside Tavern, which is really funny. Like this weekend, I just did a festival, and Mudcat used to play there. But behind the Northside Tavern was like a garage that these dudes used to do like Vespa repairs and Lambretta repairs. But at night would have shows, like and sure enough, Justin and the guys from Anti Flag, like literally, I mean. And you're talking like basically them playing in your garage. So there was like 40 kids crammed in and the band playing, and you want to know something? That's what it's all about. It was wonderful and it was beautiful. And they, back then, and they were so young, were spreading such a positive message then.
Those are my favorite kind of shows. I've been lucky to work, the biggest arenas with Ozzy and so many other great bands, but I love a good punk show in a garage. That's one of my
favorites. There's something about that camaraderie of grabbing the person next to you, and if you don't know them, putting your arm around them, and by the second chorus, you kind of, whether you know the band or know the song or not, you know what it's going to be, and everyone's singing along to it, glass in the air, and it's just tremendous. But going back to those weekly sessions, I have to say, because I turned a lot of people onto them, a lot of people chimed in, and just because someone doesn't make a comment doesn't mean that they're not listening. Now, I do encourage people to make comments, and I know you do this as well, because you want people to know, well, hey, you're making a difference. Also, I'm here for you if you want to send me a message, But I know a lot of people that got so much out of those mental health sessions of you guys talking during the pandemic. So, I mean, thank you for those. Those things are tremendous.
Well, it grew. That was the fun part, is it grew into that. And then, we have our mental health advocate, Dan, and Dan does daily affirmations on, I know.
Shout out to Dan Falk. I've never met him in person. Yeah, I've never met him in person, and we send each other notes, positive notes, and songs to build each other up once every couple of weeks. And he'll say, hey, it's been a minute. And I'm like, listen, I'm going to make it to Chicago. We're going to hang out. We're going to have a Guinness, or we're going to talk very, very soon. Big shout out to Dan. Much love to him and everyone else. So you're on the road now. Knock on wood, the vehicle's running well.
Doing great.
We still need people. Yeah,
it was a ground wire, believe it or not. All of that. If the engine ground isn't going, it's not telling the fuel pump how to work, guys.
That's right.
And a squirrel could have eaten it. We're not sure.
It's the same thing like in electricity and in broadcasting, in a rock show or television. Underneath those wires, they need to communicate. And if there's no communication, it's not going to happen. Nope. So we lucked out here at TCB and Burn It Down today, because this is an off day of you driving. But where were you last night? And which you were in Texas with the guys last night playing a show.
Well, I was in Houston last night at a bar called the Scout Bar, and I'm on a unique tour for us because we don't believe in gatekeeping when it comes to punk rock. There's so many different ways that punk rock. I mean, I've got a Childish Gambino poster behind me, and
I love Childish Gambino. I love him. So good.
But there's also a suburban home right up there by our.
Well, listen, we danced to Bruno Mars here on Friday afternoons. Everyone in the office.
But we got to be good friends with a band called the Oxymorons, and that's with two R's. And they are
not Oxymoron, yes, but
not the English punk artist, but this is a new rap rock project out of New York, and they opened on the Anti-Flag tour, and we got to be really good friends when I was out there on that. And now they're opening doors for us to come out on. They're opening for an amazing, I don't know how to describe him. Grandson is what he's called. And it's a rap, electronica, rock. It's crazy. It's an amazing mix. It's just three guys in the band. Incredible that every message that we push with our health and equality initiatives, wellness and equality initiatives.
Sure.
He talks about them between every song, and it's
And
not. It's
is it is it GRANDSON?
Yep, all lowercase, grandson.
Yeah, because another thing we love doing on the show is turning our viewers onto new music. I know when we're done with this, I'll be listening to it. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and then he great. I mean, great messages, and a really nice guy. The
Wonderful.
grandson himself is an amazing, nice guy, and man, he just took to it through the oxymorons. And so I was with them in Houston last night. I had to say my goodbyes, and now I'm on my way to Albuquerque, New Mexico tomorrow. I'm about 400 miles out. I'll do another couple hours tonight and finish it in the morning. And I'm picking up Tina. She's meeting me in Albuquerque with one of our dogs, and we're heading to LA on Thursday to do the Flogging Molly St. Patrick's Day celebration at the Palladium. And
Please give them my best. Yes. Yeah, I completely.
They're being really. They're still being really isolated. They're trying to.
I've heard.
So
yeah,
that's smart, actually. So.
Yeah, I completely forgot as well that I sang at Nathan's wedding in Denver.
You did. It was incredible.
And that was right before, yeah, because that was, I guess, November of 2019, and then the world did shut down.
I think I got a picture of us.
Yeah, those guys came to town to Atlanta a few months ago. Actually, it flies so quick. Maybe 4 or 5 months ago, whatever. I texted them and I said, "You guys haven't worked in 2 years." I texted Nathan and I said, "You've taken me all over the world. I've been on guest lists all over the world." I was like, "I'm not asking to be on the guest list. I just bought 4 tickets. I can't wait to see you." And he's like, "Tom, that is so cool of you. Thank you so much." He's like, "But unfortunately, we're still in this pandemic bubble. We actually can't even see you." So I was like, kind of, but I know they're doing the right thing. And so I said, "You want to know something? I'm just going to go up front and you'll see me."
There you go.
So B Kinch and I'm 5'11". B Kinch is like 6'4". We're up front and we're just like this, and they're just dancing and waving to us and giving us shout outs, and it was wonderful. And then Nathan sends me the nicest text, and then it's like 2 a.m. and I'm having, I guess, my last glass of wine before I go to bed, and I get the nicest call from Matt Hensley, who's such a great person and an old friend of mine, and calls me on the phone, and we're on the phone talking for 20 minutes, and he's like, "Tom, you've done so much for me," because I met him when they first started, and they were doing videos to like some of my first band Rent Boy songs, like skate videos. Our friend Stormy was, and he's like, "You've done so much for me, and when I think of Atlanta, I think of you, and seeing you out there tonight made it all worth it. It's still rough. We're still going through a hard time." And he had just gotten over having COVID really badly in Virginia, so they really were being careful. But it meant the world to me as well, and it just showed me that our community really does rock, and everyone is in this together, and everyone, if they pull through and they communicate, we're all going to be great.
Yes, so it's going to be an amazing day. Hopefully the weather's nice in LA. It usually is. But we'll see, and then we get the grand chance to pull out of there and haul butt over to, I guess if they say Tempe, but it's actually, I think, in Mesa. We are one of the, probably, I don't want to say we're the official charity of the Pumpkin Drublics, but they are working with us on almost every one of the Pumpkin Drublics, and we're going to have booths, or we have an opportunity that if you want to sign up to pour beer at the 12 to 3 beer pouring, you don't miss any bands. And for every person that pours beer during that time, they donate money to Punk Rock Saves Lives. So that's really cool.
Well, that's wonderful. And that's the guys from NoFX. And who else is on that show?
The one in Tempe. It's a little different every week, but it's going to be NoFX. Our dear pals Authority Zero are on it.
Love them.
The Venomous Pinks are on it. There's a couple I'm not sure if it's Me First. There's quite a few bands on it. So
Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. Yeah, they were on the show that we saw them play this year. They're wonderful and so much fun as well. Yeah, I think you're right about it changing, because I think last year, I think maybe even the Bouncing Souls were on one. Descendants might have been on one. Lagwagon was on a different one. They switch them up, but that's good because it makes it interesting. But most importantly, it's wonderful that they signed on and want to be sponsors or be as much as involved with Punk Rock Saves Lives.
yeah, they've been really great. It's Brouhaha Productions that do it and the Punk in the Parks, and
Yeah,
they've really taken us under their arm. They're doing amazing. Um, Let me see. Is this it? I was looking it up so we could tell.
yeah, yeah.
March 19th. No Effects, Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, the Bouncing Souls, Lagwagon, the Last Gang, Authority Zero, Venomous Pinks, and Winter Haven.
See, I'm glad that I pulled that out of you to look that up, because that is a huge show. That's
Yep.
success. And and the thing is that's a lot more bands than I thought. That's a really big show. And you turned me on to, and I met a few of the guys from Authority Zero, and it seems like they're your tribe as well. They are just
They are
on team
100% tribe.
TRSL, and they're just like, well, they're do-gooders like you and Tina, and we just want to spread the word to more people that if they, when you said that earlier, boy, I just got a little mixed up, but it's because I'm happy in my brain and in my heart. When you said there's nothing wrong with just being, but you also were like, I'm not doing good, I'm not doing bad, I'm just here. Is there more that I can do? And that's kind of how I've been feeling the past few years. And I'm always striving to do more. And it's not to make anyone feel bad that they're not. It's just it just makes me happy. Strive to thrive. And strive to do more for other people. And if anyone wants to get involved, they need to. That's right. That's
PMA.
right. That's right. Positive mental attitude. It cannot be said enough how important that is. And the thing is, it's like, if anyone wants to be involved, one, you could hit up Rob yourself. You could hit me up, and you could hit up Renee. I want to thank Renee for doing production. Thank you, John, for being behind the scenes. Because I also want to mention, for a minute, you guys were even doing food drives where you had shows where you had people bring cans of food for people who didn't have food, for people who didn't have money to eat. And I said this earlier, and I'm probably when we're done with this, gonna punch a pillow and be like, there's so many other things I wanted to say, but I really think you're doing the Lord's work. I think you're doing God's work. And I love that you came up with this motto, the saying, we're saving lives one concert at a time. So there's these huge concerts, and at these concerts, you'll see a booth and it'll say Punk Rock Saves Lives. If any of you guys are out there at a show and having a blast and you're with your friends, if you see that sign, please go up to them. Tell them you know Tom Cheshire. Tell them you watched an interview with Rob, and say, hey, what can I do? Even if it's just signing a name up, for the next time they're in town, they might ask you to volunteer for an hour, and you'll get into the concert for free. There's so many little things. Am I right, Rob, that we can do that can make the world be a positive mosh pit?
Yep, we've been doing so much with, like you said, food drives. We've done diaper drives. We've done we've built feminine hygiene products. So there's so many things we can do, and we can just use our station and use the fact that bands like us and give us the permission to be there to make a difference and do something every day. My new kind of slogan on this, through this, and it really started with Anti-Flag, is that we travel around the country with bands and festivals, and we challenge the punk rock community to do something good every day. And that can be something tiny, like checking on your neighbor, or it can be as big as becoming someone's potential lifesaver as a bone marrow donor.
Yes.
So there's so much in that whole area that you can do good. None of us are perfect.
No.
Mistakes happen. But learn to forgive yourself. Learn to do something good. Pay it forward. It's a beautiful thing. Positivity, PMA. I do want
Yeah.
to do one little shout. I know we're running out of time, but
No. Listen, listen. This is your birthday episode. We can stay on as long as you want.
well, Tom, I want to point out that Tom, I have no idea how Tom and I did not know each other before that cruise, because
Right.
I grew up in the Atlanta and Savannah and Statesboro, Georgia music scenes in the late 80s, early 90s. And then I moved to Nashville. So I wasn't that far out and still came back to Atlanta for shows. And as Tom and I sat on that boat drinking and figuring out that we were from the same scene in a way, we started talking about people we know. And I still have no idea how we didn't know each other before.
Like Scott
Lambert.
Yes, like Aaron Klein. Yeah, it's funny. Well, it goes back to that thing. Great minds think alike. Great passions think alike. You want to be around people who have the similar interests, that you love the same things, passionate about the same things, and certainly dislike the same things. I was shocked at that as well. And I was like, well, once in a while we slip by each other and somehow we didn't meet. But I do know that we were supposed to meet. And I'm so grateful that we did meet. And I'm so grateful to have you in my life. And I have to say again, like, what you guys have done during this time, especially the past couple of years, has been so rough. And we've lost either people that we know dearly or people that we know that, in our community or know of. And some of it was to depression, suicide, accidental drug overdoses, COVID itself. And it really was such dark times. And punk rock saves lives, and the community and the close people that I keep close kept me hanging on and kept me saying, I'm going to move forward. And like you said, always pay it forward. Never pay it backwards. Someone does something good for you today, do something good for someone tomorrow. And I got so many notes and messages from folks like you, and I would see Tina post them as well, your lovely wife, and Dan. Big shout out to Dan again. And you'd say, it's a Sunday night. Before you go to bed, tell someone you love them. And I want to tell you that I love you. And I can't believe we've been talking for 31 minutes. I know for a fact I will see you this year, and I hope it's all safe enough that we can give each other a long hug. Thank you again for doing, the Lord's work. Be safe out there on the road, and everybody, rock and roll and live music forever, and being a do-gooder is awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Rover Rushing.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Thank you.
Boom.